Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion. Again, just leave. Don't watch. We're not gonna lose. Like, if you're here to watch a loss, go home. You're probably already at home. Stay home. FV38DHHC. You know what? I'm not afraid. Oh, okay, we shouldn't have tried to walk into him, but being unafraid is okay. Right now, you know what? That actually worked out so much better than it had any right to. Run looks pretty solid so far. Good damage stat, HP's fine, good spacebar item. Rate of fire is the sticky spot right now. That's the pressure point where, especially rooms like this where we get rushed down a little bit, gonna require a little bit more rate of fire, but it's early. You know, I'd rather have a better rate of fire at the expense of our damage, but really, above all else, I'd rather have a better haircut. I mean, what the heck is that? One of the few hairstyles that has not been in style in my lifespan. The center part curled bangs. I feel like that's like what an 8-year-old prince in the Middle Ages wore. But, you know, look who's talking. Anyway, that's not fair. Some of the best hairstylists are bald, probably. Because when you lose one sense, your other sense is heightened. Fate's Reward, even, is not bad. It's not incredible, necessarily, but I feel like Fate's Reward mirroring your stats means that if you have good stats, you like seeing it. So I would like to get to 5 cents, please. I would like to get to 5 cents, please. 5 cents, please. And if this gives me a penny, or this gives me a penny, I'll loot, and there is nothing to loot. Okay, we'll be moving on then. I do love the Book of Shadows. We don't get it all that often. Yo, dude, it's blowing my mind here. I'm looking, Book of Shadows? Why does the icon look so much like Brimstone, dude? Somebody get game theory on the case. We don't need game theory for that. I bet that's like the Bible. But he did meet the Pope, so maybe he is the right guy for the job. Sorry, the right journalist for the job. Anyway, we're not going too far down that rabbit hole. Excuse me, petrified poop. Excuse me, petrified poop, and you dare not give me a payout of even a single penny? This is audacious. This is brutality. No, Jarek. This isn't brutality. It's a fatality. This isn't brutality. It's a fatality. Yo, let's go. Okay, we're free. Alright, Book of Shadows combined with 5 cents equals we have an arcade synergy the likes of which the world has never seen before this moment. Thank you for the eternal heart. Ooh, maybe not. Amnesia doesn't matter. Friends till the end. Telepills into a secret room where we have actually picked up a very nice bounty, a luck upgrade, and enough money to, well, when we get keys, enough money to make things worthwhile there. Telepills very rarely hits like that. That was very solid. First off, it's got to be Telepills. Secondly, it's got to take you to the secret room. Thirdly, you can't have explored the secret room yourself in order for it to be maximum value. That was like probably like a 1 in 50 shot. Okay. Speaking of which. I'm dumb. Anyway. What? It was a perfectly placed bomb. So perfect, it was the only position it could possibly be in while not hitting any of the statues whatsoever. Well, that's not true. We could have put the bomb in the bottom left corner, and then it would have had about equal efficacy. But anyway, moving on. Moving on. As mentioned in the last episode, things pretty routine over here. I mean, at least as routine as like the new normal is. Just enjoying life, you know, kind of, I'm very hesitant to be that guy, who is like, well, you know, I know the virus sucks, but look on the bright side. Because, again, I need to acknowledge this. And it sucks to acknowledge. Nobody ever wants to be like, I have it so easy. You wouldn't believe how easy I have it. You know, everybody in their own head, they're maybe not struggling necessarily, but they're working hard, they're grinding, you know. I should have just hit that way earlier. Myself included, but I do have to acknowledge I'm very lucky to have, you know, been in an industry that's not really that impacted by stuff like this. I know, like, a lot of streamers are like, well, yeah, you're not impacted by it now, but once people, like, start to have less disposable income, you'll be impacted by it. Yeah, but, like, you know, that's because, like, they lost their jobs. They've been laid off. They've been furloughed. Like, you're still, like, I don't want to say, like, you're safe, but, you know, it's not like you're bragging in the first place. You're just like, you know, I can still go to my work right now and do my job, and even if numbers, you know, get worse, at least there's something there for you, you know? I'm not sweating the analytics side of it that much, to be honest. You might think that I would be because of you know, our recent news, and, you know, we got the pregnancy and we've moved into a house recently, which is, you know, led to an increase in expenses. Of course, it's expensive to have and maintain, but it hasn't really. And this, I'm being genuine with you, is more of like a concern for, you know, people being okay. So I got sidetracked a little bit there, but hold on, pop this down. I got sidetracked a little bit there, but I don't want to be the guy who is like, you know, well, the pandemic's been bad, but on the other hand, some parts of it have been good. But I am kind of trying to not look on the bright side, but at least, like, appreciate this weird era that may never happen again. Like, I've been just looking outside a lot and being like, there are no people. There's, like quite literally nobody. You know, Vancouver's a big city. I mean, by Canadian standards, at least. By world standards, I guess it's probably more mid-sized, but, like, there's no people. Like, during the day, there's people, but there's space between them, which is, again, a little bit rare in and of itself in normal times. But, yeah, sometimes I look at my window right now. Let me see. Okay, I do see one man. He's walking with, I'm not making this up, a roll of, or like a pack of several toilet paper rolls. But apart from that one man, the streets are empty. And he had to make an emergency run. I wish him no ill will. Perhaps. But yeah, I'm kind of trying to just experience this strange, perhaps once in a lifetime time period. Not take for granted the weirdness of it. You know, I'm trying to keep myself aware of how unusual this time is. Because I almost feel like, you know, it's been like a couple of weeks since things really kicked off. I think literally it was 2 weeks ago that, like, the NBA got canceled. Which I think, like, when all of the professional sports got canceled, people were kind of like, I've woken up a little bit to the potential seriousness of the situation. Not because, like, you know, nobody cared till they took away the basketball, but more like, oh my god, if these, like, billion-dollar, well, multi-billion-dollar companies, for lack of a better word, are going to shut down the entire industry over this, then, you know, obviously they consider it more of a threat than I have until this point. I'm just going to level with you. I actually don't think Mega's that good. Should have gone to the freaking shop, dude. The curse got me. The curse got me. But yeah, it's been a couple of weeks. This is the same night Tom Hanks got diagnosed. To give you a marker. And I've almost kind of gotten used to it. You know, I've gotten used to the fact that, like, when I call my mom on the phone, she's like, yeah, we haven't left the house in like 6 days. And I'm not immediately like, what's wrong? Instead, I'm like, good for you. That's aspirational. You guys have done an amazing job with this. Justin must be so proud. We gotta hit the button. Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister. I just want to add an addendum to the joke just to make sure my genius was appreciated in the moment. And, you know, I've gotten used to the fact that, you know, you're having, like, very real conversations, which are like, you know, am I committing a crime by ordering takeout? Is it safe to order takeout? Well, you're like, well, there's a couple places you're risking it a little bit, but no. I mean, because of the disease, because of the pandemic. I understand now. And I'm kind of starting to, again, take it for granted is like almost the backwards way to describe it. You know, I'm starting to get so used to the weirdness that I'm like, you guys find yourself appreciating stuff that you almost like hated before? I don't miss it, but like watching like any form of media where, you know, people will like shake hands and you're like, we were so naive then. We were so young. Or thinking back to like, you know, somebody orders a drink, they take a sip, and they're like, oh, it's really good, you should try some. You're like, are you crazy? What is wrong with you? It's a different era, that's for sure. I'm happy with Blue Candle here. But the human brain, the human spirit is so malleable, right? Like I've become so used to it so quickly, you know? Obviously, again, I do need to reiterate that I'm, like, literally pretty much 100% insulated from, at least temporarily. And even, like, when I'm not fully insulated, I'll still probably be, like, relatively insulated, except for the fact that, you know, my wife is pregnant, and as a result, we're, like, super paranoid about cleanliness and infection and stuff like that. But, you know, apart from that, at least on an occupational level, like, life has not changed that much for me, but I'm still, even with the, you know, the changes that the world has gone through, I'm kind of like used to it already. Kind of like if I had to live the rest of my life like this, sure, I'd figure it out. I'd probably die a couple of years earlier because I'm eating a lot of Spam, but apart from that, I'd be okay. My physique would get very weird. I'm pretty much exclusively doing bicep curls right now, which is not a good workout routine. But I'm kind of like, it's the pandemic, I can treat myself. So I do like I do a lot of bicep curls and a lot of shoulder presses with these adjustable dumbbells I have. And then I'm treating myself. I'm gonna pop out of here looking like a stick figure drawing, you know, where it's just like arms and then two lumps where the biceps are. Stick body, stick neck, perfectly circular head like an orange. And then two little humps on my biceps. Either that or I'm going to have like a terrible forearm tear or something like that. I don't know. I haven't really thought. Look, I'm not lifting that heavy. We don't need to worry about it too much. But yeah, I'm treating it right now like, you know when you're like a kid and, because I feel like I can construct a beautiful metaphor here. You know when you're a kid or a squid, and it's like the first time you're up late. Maybe your normal bedtime is like 8, 9 p.m. You're up at midnight. You see the clock turn midnight. Or you're up at 12:59 and you see the clock go back to single digits, and you're like, oh my god. I haven't experienced 1 a.m. before. It's quiet, it's serene, it's different. It feels like you're getting away with something the first time. And the magic fades. You know, by the time you get a little bit older, you're like, oh my god, it's 1 a.m. and I'm not asleep by now. Come on. It's not magical. What would be magical would be to fall asleep at 9:30. Wake up well rested. But there's almost like there's an electricity in the air because of the temporary nature of it, you know? You're like, you know this can't last forever, but this one magical night for the first time ever, I'm experiencing the same world, but in a surreal context, you know? Now, when I'm out, you know, I'm never out at 1 a.m., but if I'm out at like 11 p.m., I'm like just tired. But if I was 16 and I was at a friend's house at 11 p.m., there's something a little special about that, you know? I just want to have a blood bank. So I'm not saying that this is a special situation, merely that it's kind of a surreal situation. I'm trying to soak up as much of the positive parts of that as I can and remind myself this is not always what it's going to be like, you know? Not that I shouldn't not take it for granted, because honestly, like, for myself and, you know, for the health of and anxiety and, economic stability of other people, I would love for us to get back to normal. But at the same time, I'm just kind of like soaking up memory. You know what I mean? Being like, this is truly going to be like an exceptional period. An exception not in the sense that it's great, but an exception in the sense that, like, you know, it's an exception to the rule, which was what was normal. I don't know. I hope I articulated myself there. I feel like nobody is going to be like, he's relishing in the pandemic, get him. But people might be like, no, I just really want to go back to work. Okay, that's totally fair. I'm just saying, while you're unemployed and struggling, wouldn't it be nice for you to appreciate the tranquility of the city streets? No, I'm sympathetic. I'm also trying to be like, to acknowledge now and then that, like, wow, it's not a privilege to live through this. However, it is a semi-unique experience. It's not unique for us, but as the generations refresh and roll over, it could definitely become a unique perspective, I think. Very strange. Just like it illuminates for me, at least, how adaptable human beings are. Like, you always, when I think of like the Second World War, you know, I always think about like every waking moment was consumed with the thoughts of the war. Because that's the way that, you know, you look at human history. I shouldn't say you. And I'm going to buy HP here. I'm going to take my own advice for once. The way that I look at human history is like, you know, 1939 and 1935 or 1945. What was going on? Oh, that was the war. Those were the war years. That's the only thing going on. But I'm sure like there were first world problems going on in the Second World War, right? Thanks to this stinky war, I can't even get like a good I was gonna say a good DoorDash order delivered, but I guess that's a little anachronistic, sorry. Ooh, run. I'm sure there were people who were like, Tom bought the bad laundry soap that doesn't get the laundry handled as good as the borax does. And you're like, Susan, people are dying. Every couple from the 1940s is Tom and Susan in my head. I know people are dying, but people would be dying still even if you bought the good laundry soap, Tom. You never listen, etc., etc. Anyway, just weirdness, you know? These weird thoughts. Thoughts that wouldn't have made sense back in January. Now you're like, he's got a good point. It's amazing how fast things have changed. I don't want the discussion to necessarily get political. People are talking about universal basic income in December. Like, never gonna happen. We require the complete breakdown of our economic system. It's never gonna happen. Never gonna happen. A couple of months later, all right, it's happening. Well, kind of depends where you live, but in Canada, it's kind of happening. It's like a paradigm shift, maybe. Very unusual to live through one. Again, I hate to say, I hate to bring up like bad memories, perhaps, but I really feel like the only other one of these I've lived through was September 11th. And even then, I didn't live in America, so like it did change things globally for sure, but you know, I feel like it could have changed things more, obviously, depending on where you lived. Or you could have experienced more change depending on where you lived, is a better way to phrase that. And it's still, that's the weird part, right? Like, it's still shaking out. Hold on, Depths 1, this is important. Anyway, I hope everyone watching this is doing well, keeping themselves sane, but also not going outside except for necessary purposes. I don't want to say, like, you know, don't go outside at all, because, you know, I see people, like, going for jogs and stuff, and I'm like, I feel like that's probably okay as long as you stay away from other people. But I will say, I did have to get groceries on Saturday, and when I was walking home, there was a cyclist on the road next to me, and he just blew his nose, like, more loudly and openly, and into a tissue, than anybody I've seen in my entire life. And this Corona's got me looking at my neighbors with malevolence. I'm like, how dare you blow your nose in public? Go home, lock yourself in your bathroom, blow your nose, Disinfect the entire bathroom, wash your hands, wash the sink, and then wash your hands. Don't you know this is how we do it now? I can't believe as well, we've also, and I'm not even saying this is a bad thing, if anything, keeps me honest, right? But sometimes I'll like wash my hands after I go to the bathroom on stream, and people will come back and be like, or I'll come back and people will be like, we only heard the sink running for 15 seconds. You know, you're really supposed to wash your hands for 20 seconds in order to get all the effectiveness of the soap washing the dirt and grime and potential virus particles off. And I'll admit, the first couple of times, I was like, I've been lecturing you guys for years about washing your hands, and you've been like, I'm not gonna, and this is, again, assuming chat is all one person, which is definitely not the case, but, well, it depends on how big your stream is, I guess. But I've been lecturing you for years about washing your hands, and people have been like, well, I think the reason our immune systems are so weak is because we actually clean and kill germs. If we didn't kill germs, I think we would all never get sick. And you're like, well, that doesn't really seem to make a lick of sense, honestly. But okay, you do you. Nowadays, everybody's like, time, 19.8 seconds. I'm going to have to give that a big grade of F. But you know what? I hate to say it. They're right. Should be singing the song 2 times, and not in cut time. You should be singing it at the tempo. Happy birthday. You should be singing it at the tempo of a DC Universe film using a cover of a song that was previous in a major key, and then they turn it into like a child's choral version. My baby dunk takes the morning train, dunk. He works from 9, dunk, to 5, and then dunk. You know, that's still a major key. I apologize. I don't know keys very well. All right, get me out of here. I'm waiting on a big tiers upgrade. I gotta say, we got pretty stinky deals with the devils so far. I mean, we got the cancer trinket, but we're still like... Yeah, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, why is our rate of fire so bad when we have the cancer trinket? We really got like a -2 to our tier delay for that? I'm not complaining too much. You know, I've been like only half focusing on the run. I'm sure there's been a lot of opportunities where we could have used Book of Shadows but didn't. Which is really like, you know, you got to clean your own mirror first. Let's do it. I'm unafraid. This could be a big swing. No, it can't, because I do not have a bomb. But the Hierophant, okay. That's, there's a little stroke of luck there. And perhaps maybe a larger stroke of pure genius. Alright, don't go to the boss fight right away. But yeah, it's just, it's unusual times. If you're wondering why there's less grocery store anecdotes, it's not just that I go to the grocery store less often. Because, you know, for obvious reasons. It's also because when I go to the grocery store, I'm not, like, mildly annoyed anymore. I'm just mad. I feel like that's a much worse look. Because, like, in my head, I'm like... Wow, during this time, I've really come to appreciate my neighbors a lot more. We've really come together and, you know, we're doing things as a community, separate, but to take care of each other, you know? Do you need anything from the grocery store? I know you got young kids. If you don't want to, you know, risk any exposure, I'm going to the grocery store right now. I can pick you up some stuff if you're interested, blah, blah, blah. But then when I go to the grocery store, people are, like, not social distancing, and they're all going, oh my god, this is crazy. What is this? This is, like, insane. I've never seen anything like this before. Isn't this weird? And I'm like, yeah, it's weird, Karen. Is like the dictionary definition of weird. At the same time, could you please like just move a little bit? I think I told this on stream, but like, you know, you're supposed to stay 2 meters away from people, which is like for imperial measurement users is like 7 feet. It's a reasonable distance. You're in the grocery store, somebody walks up to the section where they keep like the meat. You can't be there and pick out meat at the same time as them. So I feel like you need to be a little bit more courteous. And I could be a little bit more courteous as well. I could be a little bit more patient. But there was a couple there that was like picking up steaks that were prepackaged and then like putting them down and being like, I don't know if this is the right cut of meat for this. And they pick up like another couple of cuts of meat and then put them back down. And I was just like, I just eat ground beef. I just get in there real quick. I just get in there real quick and get the ground beef. I'm like, you know, that the number of times, and I haven't been out very often to be honest, but the number of times when I'm out and I just want to scream, you know, it's a pandemic, just hurry up. It's really, it rises exponentially week to week. Like I was in the grocery store on Saturday, where all of these stories come from. Yeah, I'm ready to be here, right? Yeah, why not? And like some lady, and you know, there's not that many people in the grocery store, so we're like known characters. We're like the cast of characters for each other that are in the grocery store. So I'd seen her and her husband around, and you know, they were having a good time with it. They were laughing, and I was like, hey, laugh it up, you know? Not like laugh it up. Wait till you see what happens. Let's go check this out. Yikes. Still not too great, obviously. But, you know, I was like, you gotta have fun with it, I guess. Then at one point, she was like, you know, I was standing in the freezer section because, honestly, that's how far the line had stretched back. Depends on the grocery store. This grocery store, the freezer section is not particularly far from the checkout area, but it's farther than I've ever waited back before. And she went like, hey, can I just squeeze by you? I have to get something. I just found out that this thing that I have has trans fat in it. And I wanted, like, it's actually a very reasonable request. I don't think she was overstepping her bounds. She asked politely. She didn't just move past me. But a big part of my brain was like, lady, look around you. You're worried about trans fat right now? We got bigger fish to fry. Of course, at the same time, I was in there, and I was like, they don't have any veggie straws. I'm gonna have to buy goldfish crackers because the supply chain for veggie straws is all screwed up? This is ridiculous. I never will tell a story, and I don't leave out the parts that make me look bad in most of these stories, you know? I'm aware that I'm a hypocrite. My only defense is that I think all of us hold other people to a different standard than we hold ourselves to, on occasion at least. But yeah, most of my stories have gone from like, because you know what it is? It's now, people are people, just like they've always been. But now, instead of being mildly inconvenienced, it's being mildly inconvenienced and also having this thought in my head that's like every second that I spend in here is like another, you know, plus 0.05% chance to come down with this virus. Honestly, I think we'd be better off with the fly right here. I said it. I think, well, this is a tough one. I think we should use Awa's Rune and then take Suicide King and Wheel of Fortune with us. Let's get spicy. So it's no longer like, I'm mildly inconvenienced by this old man taking 25 minutes to sample 20 different things at the deli counter. Now it's like, my God, man, just get the ham. Have you watched the news recently? We're not supposed to be here. It's a state of emergency, brother. We're all in this together. Just don't even pass them a note. Just hold up a sign from 2 meters away that says 250 grams of ham, please. You can't be out here taking this long. At the same time, I do believe that I am correct in this situation. I was very upset with the couple that were browsing the meat section. I was like, you're monopolizing the whole meat section. Can you just pick a steak? I mean, you could... I don't want to get too outrageous about it. My doctor said it's bad for my blood pressure. But, like, you could look up what you need for the recipe at home and then go in and pick it up. You don't have to, you know, derive that information at runtime in the middle of once-in-a-century disease outbreak. I'm just, especially when you're touching all the stuff and like, I don't think that they had it. They had no visible symptoms, but at the same time, it's less like I'm worried about, you know, getting it from that specific interaction and more like, oh my God, the world doesn't revolve around you. Anyway, just pick a steak. It's all beef, dude. Anyway. But excuse me, you don't make steak Diana with the flank steak. You have to use an eye of round. All right. You will never know how much my face looked like Mike Ehrmantraut's right there. I went full Ehrmantraut for that impression. Even though it didn't sound like Mike Ehrmantraut. Kind of, if I want to conjure the Mike Ehrmantraut look on my face, I kind of just picture myself as like a begrudging lunch lady. And then I just lean into that. 2 cheeseburgers, okay. How come your mom lets you have 2 cheeseburgers? Me? I'm doing fine, thanks for asking. Yeah, I know you didn't. That's the joke, princess. Something like that. It's a new character I've been workshopping for 21 seconds. It's called Lunch Lady Lion. You know, back in my day, they served real vegetables in these. Now, look at you, dinosaur chicken nuggets and french fries. Wow, la-di-da, must be nice. Back in my day, they had to put fluoride in the water because our teeth went soft. I don't know where I'm going. This is the #1 way for me to realize this is the last video for me to record today. Is to just veer off into impression territory for far too long. It's time to join us. Join us, Egg. That's Animal Crossing talking to me right now. Join us, Egg. Animal Crossing and David Suzuki's The Nature of Things episode about Stonehenge. But how did they move those blocks, dude? It's crazy. It's not that crazy. They just used sledges. Yeah. I don't know. So I watched this documentary about the pyramids last night. We just cannot get a good item, huh? I mean, it's a good item. It's just like, it's not what we need right now. We're going into full spice territory. Half spice, full spice consequences. And I think, like, when I was a kid, I didn't understand the pyramids. Or, like, the fascination with the pyramids, I should say. I was just like, it's just like a building. It's just like a tall building. Big whoop. I watched that documentary about the pyramids last night. It brought a tear to my eye. Not because, I mean, obviously I'm aware of the fact that they're built with, like, some forced labor. In case that's not abundantly clear. But it's more, I was just like, you know, they showed the process of, like, oh my god! They showed the process of, like, a modern 21st century artisan cutting the stone that would, in the same vein that they would have cut it in ancient Egypt to build the pyramids. And I was like, this is insane. The fact that they could... If I asked half the people on the internet to, like, make spaghetti... I'm not even talking about the sauce, just the noodle... I think you would have about a 30% success rate. And you're telling me, like, 8,000 years ago, they were like, oh, so what you gotta do is hew the limestone from living rock, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that limestone, you're gonna get it down to these, like, pretty precise proportions, like, not exact, but pretty precise, and then we're gonna just strap that to a boat, even though it weighs, like, you know, 200 tons, and then we're gonna take the boat, you know, down the Nile, and then we're gonna, once we get it there, you know, we're gonna drag it on a little sled up an incline made of sand, the worst possible substrate for you to be moving a heavy object on because it just sinks into the earth. Okay, hold on. This is a very important room for us, potentially. That is a dream come true. And I'll tell you right off the bat, I actually think that a dice shard is more valuable than Wheel of Fortune by far with our current permutation of stuff. I'm very into this idea right now. And then, oh, by the way, once you get it up there, is not done. Now we need another person to cut the stone into, like, the exact angle that we need in order to make the pyramid actually be, you know, triangular. Pyramid-esque, if you will. And then we gotta hoist it up and actually put it in the right spot. Oh, and okay, after 25 years, now the outside is done. Time to work on the inside. Like, that's just insane to me. Sometimes my wife asks me to, like, do the dishes, And she's like, yeah, you got about a 75% success rate. Some of these are still not done up to my standard. 6,000 years ago, they were using trigonometry to make the triangle as perfect as possible. Or at least scholars believe they were using trigonometry. Anyway, this is an incredible project. Not to mention, you know, feeding the tens of thousands of people who were working on it. And to keep that going for 25 years, we can't even keep a Team Unity game going for like 8 weeks and we've got the internet. It's just incredible to me. So these are not great. So the real genius of Dice Shard potentially is about to become apparent. And these are still not very good. What was it? We don't know. Crack this open. They're all bad, for the record. I don't want to Dice Shard the Empress card. Everything else is good to go. I used the Empress card. Okay, so we got some better stuff, I think. But do keep in mind, I'm a little torn on whether or not I want to take Ipecac. I feel like, don't get me wrong, I feel like obviously it's such a huge damage dealer, but with a limited number of lives, our damage is pretty good. I wonder, here's the thing, we can always take Ipecac later, but we can't go back. If we choose to go with Ipecac, we're stuck with it. And let's just use this as often as possible. So I think it's really in our best interest to be very prudent, perhaps unnecessarily prudent about the way that we approach that. Onsus is a very nice rune. If times get tough, you know, we will definitely consider taking it, but for the time being, I would rather not take it and decide later. Because right now, once we get Ipecac, and I do want to get it, it's going to be a lot harder for us to use Maw of the Void, so I'm kind of leaning on Maw of the Void to generate a cushion for us. At which point we could then consider using Ipecac. That's perfect use of Book of Shadows there. We definitely would have been hit, I think. Okay, I don't mind this. As far as I'm concerned, I was just going to say, that's a free charge. And if we could just not pick up money because it has no purpose for us and instead get Bumbo a little fed down here. I don't think this is going to be enough. Bumbo! Come on, man. Close. I'm sure we're close there. I don't care who goes first or last here. Just be killed, please. Justice. Yo, let's get wild with it. It's a perfect opportunity to double our rate of fire but halve our damage. I'm okay with that, believe it or not. We have good tier effects. We got a Holy Light. We got Explosivo. I think that we win there. We win on that trade. And then we got Soy Milk immediately after, which is like the kind of value you can't buy. It's just incredible good fortune for us. It's the second time in like 5 videos that we've had Soy Milk Libra. It's one of the most like overpowered combos in the game. And this time we got them 2 rooms apart. Excuse me. Hold on. Just pop the stuff you don't want. Strength we do want. 2 of clubs we don't really care about. 2 of spades we don't really care about. Sure, the virus could come in handy. Nobody is more surprised than me about the way this run went. It looked like a very comfortable, if pedestrian win, and turned into a high-octane thrill ride, the likes of which we've never seen before. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. See ya!